and welcome to PPC Live The Podcast. I'm your host, Anu, and the founder of PPC Live. And if you're used to hearing from experts about how to ensure we're keeping up with the ever-changing landscape, you are definitely still in the right place. Every week, I'm speaking to a different PPC expert this time about their biggest F-up, but also how they turn things around. We never leave things on a disappointed note. We do speak about who helped them through the issue, how it got solved, what was the big lesson for them, what they would have differently, what they do differently now post, that mistake that happened. Today, we have the delight of hearing from Nick Handley, who is like a paid media lead at Impression. And you might recognize that brand name because Dave Alexander of Impression is speaking at our next PPC Live on February 5th. But yeah, Nick is going to be speaking, about an issue, a mistake that happened very early in his career. Undoubtedly, these are the kind of mistakes that you'll hear from. They are still important. But those mistakes early on in our careers are the ones that really can define us, that really make us the experts we are today. And this is no less of a case like that. So yeah, we're going to hear from Nick talking about this mistake, about landing pages and how to make sure that you don't make the same error. All right, let's speak to Nick. Hello, Nick. Welcome to PPC Live, the podcast.
Hey, Anu. Thanks for having me. It's been a while, hasn't it? We've known each other for years, but never actually done anything like this.
No. I mean, I started a podcast. You and Chris Nightingale, who was also on the podcast, the two of you have started a podcast as well. And I hear it's going really well. That's really nice. Tell us, even before we get into it, tell us a bit about that podcast.
Chris and we actually first met on LinkedIn when Chris was like, I'm going freelance. Do you have any work for me? And I was like, I'm sorry, mate. I have zero work for you right now. And then we met at a event by Charlie Brennan. It was PPC Academy, which I think it's Performance Academy nowadays. And we got talking. He was mentioning about AI. I was mentioning about some things I'm doing with AI. And he was like, should we start a little podcast? And that's how it all started. And we're 7 episodes in now. We literally just recorded our first episode of season 2. And we've got the delightful sponsor by Optio now. So the guys at Optio saw what we're doing and like, we'd love to be a sponsor. So yeah, it's going pretty damn well at the moment. I don't think I'll ever become a podcast host full time, but it's fun for me.
It's fun. What's it called? What's the name of the podcast?
Oh yeah, sorry. The podcast is actually called Prompted. So it's the Prompted Podcast.
Amazing.
But yeah, also search for it. YouTube is the one.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you guys have started with such good effort of, it looks very nice and crisp and professional. And I really recommend folks to look at it. But before you do that, people are like, Anu, you're recommending us another podcast. We don't even know who it is you're talking to. So let me introduce you to Nick Handley, who is one of the media focus leader working with our award-winning Impression. You might recognize that brand because Dave Alexander of Impression is going to be speaking at our next PPC Live. You might recognize his accent. He hails from proud Yorkshire, northern parts of our world, of the UK world, and he says the wrong side of the Pennines. Hey, I think it's beautiful up there. I think it's absolutely gorgeous up in Yorkshire. Somewhat a T-shaped marketer, he'll call himself, with experience managing digital strategy, with a strong background in growing agencies and media departments through client retention, growth, and internal optimization, with a short stint in-house. Haven't we all? We all wanted to test what it's like working with one brand and having a bit of normalcy of just knowing all their marketing strategy. I absolutely get it. So yeah, he's very, very hands-on managing and leading media strategy for brands on search, marketplace, and social. He's had a chance to work with household names down to startups and Time Brand and Performance together. And yeah, his Rise at 7, you'll recognize that brand. They really went huge in terms of the PR world. BPP and Halford, some really great brands that we love. And a very fun fact that I'm definitely going to also get Nick to talk a bit more. Well, not just the fact that he's a fellow lover of coffee. Like, what's tea about? Tea is just brown water. Coffee is where it's at. But also a mountain ascender. And how many mountains did you say that you've climbed now?
So I think at the moment I've got it on an app somewhere, but it's over 400 mountains that I've been up now. To clarify, a mountain in the UK is over 500 meters, so it's not as big as people actually think. Below that's a hill, but there's so many to go at. So yeah, if anyone fancies mountain talk, hit me up. I'm all about it.
Amazing. And what's the furthest one outside of the UK you've done?
So the first one I've done by hands down is Mount Fuji in Japan. It's a phenomenal climb, but if you ever do it, I can guarantee you there's a high likelihood that you're going to get zero visibility and you're going to see nothing. The cloud cover in Japan is pretty much most of the year round. So don't get your hopes up. It's a fun climb. The top isn't exactly the best.
It's not the best view. So yeah, so because I was gonna ask maybe what time was the best time of the year to do it if people are gonna do it, but all year round it's a bit cloudy, is it?
100%. I spent a fair bit of time in Japan, but if you're going to try do it, I'd say winter, like autumn time's probably the best time, but you're going to get cooler weather. Anything outside of that, it's either rainy season, it's too humid, or it's roasting or too cold. So
Oh,
autumn's your
no.
good window to try get up.
Nice. I actually plan to do that because it's my birthday in October time. And I was like, for me, I was like, Japan is on my heart to do this year.
Yes.
So, maybe I'll catch the perfect weather for Japan for this year. Oh, that'll be exciting. Probably not gonna do the mountain climb, let's just be honest about that.
I don't blame you. Yeah.
Is Anyway, y'all are saying that I knew this is not a travel podcast. Let's get back to what we're actually mainly talking about. We're talking about F-ups, but not just F-ups, how we turn them around. Nick has already like given me a sneak peek into what he's gonna share with us, and you're gonna learn a lot about this. Again, we're gonna be touching about how like AI is not the be all and end all of our jobs, and yeah, and it shouldn't make us lazy. We should really still be focusing on the basics, and getting them wrong is part of the journey to ensure that we get them right for our clients. So yeah, Nick, thank you for joining us today to share one of these important stories with us. So without further ado, Nick, take it away. What F-up would you like to share with us today?
So I was thinking about the different types of F-ups I've had, and given that I'm less hands-on as I used to be in terms of account management, I've actually gone all the way back to the start of my career, which is near enough 10 years ago now, which makes me feel incredibly old. But it was probably one of the biggest ones that stuck with me, and there's good reason why. So I've started my career, I was working at a place called tiresonthedrive.com, which are now owned by Halfords. But I was working with two absolutely lovely people, Max Hopkinson and Will Pigeon. And Will, they own Bind and also the Keynote Club as well. But they're the best people at bringing to digital. Anyway, Will had gone on holiday. Will was like, I'm off. It's the Black Friday season and I'm on holiday. He'd left me with about 7 months experience with the reins
Oh,
of our PPC campaigns. Max is still in, Max is supporting, it's all
great.
fine.
Okay.
I'm using Google Ads Editor at the time, and everyone's aware Google Ads Editor back in the day, especially back then, you had to learn how to use it. It wasn't as straightforward, and I still think that Editor is the best way to do bulk uploads, but just learn how to use it. Anyway, we needed to change our URLs across every campaign we had. This was back in the day that it was easier to do it in Editor than do a mass URL change within the platform. And I changed the URL and I'd not checked the URL that I was putting in. Turns out the URL I was putting in was incorrect. And I was like, this is fine. I thought I checked everything, QA'd it. Turns out I hadn't. Clicked upload, everything goes live. Next thing I see, every ad has been taken down and disapproved. And I was like, fantastic. And I didn't necessarily recognize what to do to start with. I was like, panicked. So I was like, God, I'm like, what am I going to do here? I'm like, I've taken down our entire Black Friday sale. And for context as well, Tires on the Drive back then, PPC accounted for like near enough 70% of all their conversions. So it's a big portion of and I was like, I'm going to lose my job here. I've completely messed up. So I actually raised it to Max, and Max luckily helped me sort everything out, and he coached me through it, showed me how to, make the change in Editor, to undo, re-upload, and make sure things were done. And it really made me realize back then that I need to be a bit more careful, and that keen eye to detail was such a big thing. But I think the reason that I wanted to mention it is because nowadays with AI and automated tools that are out, I think it's even more prevalent and salient than ever to make sure that we're actually doing the due diligence and to
Yeah.
understand how to do something before we actually do it. So quite
Yeah.
often I'm hearing people using AI to speed up techniques or other bits like
Yeah.
that. I'm very much on the ilk of we should be learning how to do it first and then
Yes.
incorporating AI after to be
Yes.
able to 100% understand when it's made a mistake or if you need to change anything. I'll stop there because I've just spoken at you, Anu. So, but that's my F up.
No, I love that you did that. That's the I sometimes I'll go back to a recording that I've done with a guest, and when I hear myself speaking to, and I'm like, I knew the audience don't want to hear from your voice, you know. Also, when I'm editing, and I like cut what I said. So no, it's amazing to share that, and how even, you know, you said that you checked a few things. So like let's go let's go like. Unfortunately, this might be the bit that will give you PTSD. I'm sorry, but like, well, let's go through the dig it deep a little bit more into the story. You said that you did do the double checking, that you know, that's the advice. That's a guardrail to prevent wrong landing pages. You did a check. You looked through the URLs. What is it that you missed? Was it like the tracking bit of it, or was the landing page you inserted itself just wrong?
No, the landing page I inserted itself was wrong, and I don't know how I missed it, but I missed part of the URL name. So tiresonthedrive.com, I'd missed part of it within the Tires on the Drive part of the URL. And
Right.
there was other changes I was making to ad copy and things like that. So I was doing a lot of different changes. And it's
Yeah.
the first time I'd ever been entrusted with doing a big wholesale change for a sale. And yeah, for some reason, I just completely missed it. And looking back on it, I wish I'd had a tool like, you know, either understood and checked for me as well. So then I had the second pair of eyes, whether that's AI or whether that's just some automation. It
Yes.
would have helped me check. But yeah, for me, I look back and I'm like, I still have dreams that haunt me now and again, where there's Max and Will over the top of me being like, you've done a terrible job. But yeah, it's just the URL. I just mistyped the name of Tires on the Drive. I think I'd mixed up the R and S on one of on the tires
Yeah.
bit, and I was like, I don't know how I've done that, but hey, I'm
Yeah.
still here to tell the tale. So
Yes. And even that, you know, it wasn't, that's not how you didn't get fired for doing that
no.
mistake. You got good teammates, Max Hopkinson. So he came, you told him what had gone wrong. What was the fix? Well, how was it? Literally change the spelling, correct the spelling, and go, because you actually said you didn't know how to fix it. If it was just a change in error, what was it that you couldn't quite just change in straight
So
away?
this sounds, to anybody that knows PPC and knows ads editor, you should always check and like resync your ads editor to, you know, the live platform. Well,
Yes.
I in the panicked state that I was in, wasn't resyncing the platform to the editor. So when I was trying to make changes, it just wasn't doing anything. So I've made changes in the online editor as well. So I've made changes in the live
Yes.
platform. So yeah, it was like, essentially I'd panicked and tried to make a few different changes throughout the course of different campaigns, and it wasn't syncing up correctly. So when I was re-uploading, I was getting errors thrown up, and I was like, oh, for God's sake. And luckily Max was like, have you synced the campaigns? Have you done, you know, have you made sure that things are all back, so they're like referencing what's live? And I was like, actually, no, I haven't. So that was one of the
Mm,
bigger things, where it was like actually taking a step back as well, and, you know, not being overwhelmed with panic, especially as a junior as well. I think that
yes.
mistakes as a junior, you take them a hell of a lot heavier than you do as, you know, a more seasoned marketer, because it's like, oh my God, I've done something really bad. Whereas I think it's really common. We all make mistakes. It's just about accountability and owning them. But yeah, back then I was just like, shit, like I've really messed up here. Like I've
Yeah.
done something really bad. And I've just like forgotten to, you know, do all the steps that I've been taught how to do anyway.
Yeah, I think it's a very great sign, because you know, you've already even answered that question, which is absolutely fine. Like, about how did it make you feel? Like, how did you feel in that moment? And you kind of feel like, oh no. And that's how a good paid search manager should feel. Like, you shouldn't just be like, oh, mistake, whatever, move on. You know, it's you know, there should be a bit of you that expects more from yourself, that you know you shouldn't have done that. You've been trained well. You had some great managers. They didn't just, you know, for a manager to be like, I'm gonna go on holiday, they must have left you in good hands, or with
Yeah.
at least with the training that you know that you should have had. Um, and like, how quickly were you able to rectify things?
I would rectify things in about an hour, but with that as well, yeah, it was a really simple fix. But ultimately, when you're private equity backed as well, so Tires on the Drive when I worked there was PE backed, so we
Okay.
had to understand the damage or the mitigation that needed to be made. So a big part of it as well was actually understanding and analyzing the downtime we had, and then seeing
Yeah.
how many lost sales we had. And then Max was very, very good, and he was like, "Look, I can handle this." He put together email to let people know, but we also worked on actions to increase spend throughout the rest of the day to
Sure.
essentially to make up for the loss. And we actually turned out to be a really good trading period for us for Black Friday
Nice.
period. But yeah, having the support from a senior member of staff and somebody that I value a lot, I still value Max a hell of a lot now,
Yes.
is a lovely lad. But yeah, I think one of the big ones for me is like having that support and not being lambasted or shouted at and being like,
Yes.
we make mistakes, and as long as you're accountable and understand how to fix it now, things are fine. And I really credit Max for that, and I think it gave me a really good understanding of how I can help other people on my journey as a manager as well. Which, yeah, big shout out to Max. I've said his name about 5 times then, but
You
I
know
do
what? We're
value
gonna
him.
have to tag him. We're gonna have to tag him when we when we publish this up. And maybe
Yeah.
we have an interview with him to see
As
what
a
his.
highlight of hood, he probably won't even remember. Do you know, for Max, he probably won't even remember it. He'll be like, "Oh
No,
yeah, I forgot about that." But for me, it stuck with me quite a bit.
bless him. He's very kind. He's very sweet. Was there anybody? Because you're in an no, actually, you weren't in an agency. That was
As client
more.
side on that side.
It was
That's client
client
side on
side.
them.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
right. But was there anyone that maybe you feel like could have dealt with you better, or was everybody just really good? All the people that you were in contact with were really good in just focusing on the solution.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's one thing that I've always prided myself on places I've worked, and the reasons I've left certain places as well. And I think having an inclusive and welcoming environment where there's no blame or a no blame culture, as long as you are accountable, and I'll use that word 100 times over,
Yeah.
as long as there's accountability. And yeah, I didn't have any trickiness. Like, the team
Mm,
rallied around me, because our team, as a market department at Tires, was you had Claire and Justine looked after the organic side of things. You had me and Will that were paid media, and then you had Max that oversaw the department, and everyone was just like really supportive about it. Nobody was like, "Oh, you've done terribly," or everyone's like, "It'll be solved. It will be fine." So yeah, I value that more than anything. Like, workplace culture is huge, isn't it? And luckily,
yes.
client side feels a bit friendlier. I know clients on an agency side can be, I won't say spiky, but there's a lot more expectations because they
Yes.
are paying a premium for that service, which I
Right.
completely get.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, and I said, like, working that brand, you feel like, you understand how things should go, and I think everybody
Yeah.
then knows that everybody understands. So, like, if something goes wrong, you know what that really costs. And when you're an agency, you don't necessarily understand how much it costs, and then maybe we overreact a bit much.
Mm.
And like, for some of the stories I've heard with, like, previous guests, like Indy, who was on the show, and he's like, yeah, he had this client that was, the relationship didn't look great, and then when this mistake happened, because the clients knew that actually internally they were doing well in loads of other areas, they didn't really actually come on so heavy that as he would have expected. So yeah, you just never know when you're the agency and you're dealing with a client, and it's, it's definitely a different ball game. I feel anyone that has only ever had agency experience, test out working for the client side. It really gives you a little bit of peace of mind. I'm not saying quit your job. If you love your job, stay with them. But I do think everyone who's just always worked agency side should test out working client side. It's a different pace and gives you a very, better perspective to it.
Mm.
Anyway, coming back to the story. So let's get back more on the positive ends of things. So what would you say, like, are the guardrails you now put in place, that you put in place specifically based on that era happening?
Yeah, I think it's changed over time just as things have become more sophisticated in platform, but I think the core principles still stay the same. And it's making sure that in a quality assurance process, like when you are doing QA, get yourself to check it, walk away, check it again, especially if you're doing
Yeah.
large scale changes. So do double check. And now that I've worked agency side and there's more people to check with, get somebody else to check your work and make sure that you're 100% happy with it before pushing live. the amount of times I see errors caused just because people are rushing through to get things done, they're not spending as much due diligence time on it. It's probably the biggest reason I see mistakes happen, like know whether, insertion orders are correct, or a
Yeah.
keyword is incorrect, or a match type is wrong, or even your PMAX
Yeah.
assets are absolutely
Oh,
knackered. It's like, realistically, yeah, just take that time and take a step back. And
no,
that's what I do now.
absolutely.
Everything that I put out is take a step back.
Take a step back and even try and have like a second pair of eyes on there on it
Yeah.
if possible. Yeah, absolutely. Do you ever is it something that is already like preset, or where you have the person who's your go-to, or you just make sure someone does it? Which way do you go for?
So the way we work at Impression is probably the easiest way to describe, and I'd actually recommend every workplace to do this, is have almost a buddy system. So
Yeah.
we have a quality assurance system, which I call the buddy system because I find it a much friendlier way of putting it. But every account that we work with will have an account team. There'll be somebody that isn't necessarily part of that account team on a day-to-day, that is there as a quality assurance officer on the account,
Nice.
just to make sure that if there's big changes going live, the person that is doing the activation knows who to be in touch with, and give them a heads up ahead of time to, like, I'm pushing this live. Can you
Mm,
double check it before it goes? And we have that on every account we work with. And I think that it's just a really good agency process that I think you can take in house, you can take it anywhere. And if you are the sole person that is accountable for it, if you're in house and you're a small team and there's only one of you, I'd definitely say use a bit of AI to help if possible, or
yeah.
look at creating automated workflows where there's tasks that you do multiple times, using N8N, or use, a Google AI Studio to find ways that allow you to sense check your work without it taking hours. So yeah, that's my general thoughts.
Absolutely. Yeah. Use a buddy system. Yeah, that's definitely a really good way to put it. And I think it's a really great when you have it as a system so that it doesn't feel like, if it's an ad hoc thing, you almost feel like, oh God, does someone not trust me? Has someone being allocated as the second pair eye? Because I think that has when I because yeah, you say you've been doing this for 10 years. I think mine is double that. God help me. And
No, it is
I'm
not double
covering
that.
all the graves. But yeah, so like way back, I knew when auditing started being a thing, there was always a sense of, oh God, oh, my client
Yeah.
doesn't trust me. Oh yeah, we need to, why does this person want to audit my work? Are you trying to say something about me? And there was always that nervousness about it. And now auditing is now part of, the vocabulary, the system,
Yeah.
people's services. We now realize that it's actually important. It says nothing about your skill set or your expertise level. And with the fact that there's so many campaign types you could do, so many different setting types it could be, tracking issues and that kind of stuff, it's actually important that somebody else who is not staring at the campaign every day does take a look. They're fresher eyes
Mm.
and they will spot the mistake. And I've said this before, so apologies to my audience, but seriously, your eyes pre and post setting a campaign is totally different. Once you set a campaign live, all of a sudden you see the mistakes. All of a sudden you're like, oh, they should have done that, should have done that. And it's almost even impossible to get around, no matter how much staring you look at it. Once you go live, your eye sees so many different. It must be scientific. It's good. I'm going to research it. There must be something scientific about it where it's just, you just see something totally different. Anyway, enough of my rambling again. So, what is your advice? Let's say someone has gone through this. They've uploaded a whole bunch of URLs like in Google Ads Editor, and it's gone wrong. And if let's say they don't have someone like Max, who will be like the patient person to take their problem to. What's your advice for that someone in that moment?
Yeah, I think it's probably less common, isn't it, to think about, like URL uploads, but it still goes on. And I think if any form of bulk upload or any change that you make, it's if you've made that mistake and you've effed up, like, step away from it for 5 minutes. 5 minutes people ain't gonna die if you, step away from your screen for 5 minutes. Let yourself calm down before you, start to change things. If you're like me, who is an anxious sort of mind anyway, like, that really does help. And I
Yeah.
think it's something that is 100% what a worthwhile skill is, to de-escalate yourself before looking into a solution, and then just piece back of what's actually gone wrong, figure it out, the standard process of, what's the causative action, what's happened, like, can you find a simple error, and then
Mm,
how do you stop it happening again, and then
mm.
just make the change. Like, I think it's easier said than done when you're in it, but I do generally think take that time out and don't give yourself a hard time, because the mistake needs to be changed anyway. You might as well think about what you've done after and just think about sorting it to start with. It
Yes,
feels really,
yes.
really simple, but I think it helped me massively in my early career.
Yeah, yeah. I love that phrase. De-escalate yourself. Not even the problem. De-escalate. Like just bring yourself down from the mountain.
Yeah, yeah.
We love the mountains, dog. Bring yourself down. Like just calm yourself down. Yeah, yeah, get out of that very hyped, panicked state that as a good paid search manager, you'll probably get into because you care about your work and you care that you've made a mistake. But yeah, that space is not going to be the space where you're going to do your best work. So you need to come back to the space where you're calm, focused, and you can really spot how to fix things quickly. Fantastic. That is that we're gonna leave that story alone. But just one last thing. What's your takeaway? What's your overall takeaway for people to that you'd love people to pay attention to about that story?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm going to go down like the sort of like mental health side of things, or the panic side of things, instead of actually looking at the mistake itself. Is stop giving yourself a hard time with this
Mm,
sort of stuff. Like we all make mistakes. It's about having that accountability and going to your boss or going to a client with, here's a mistake I've made. Here's how I will solve it, and here is the impact that it's actually had. People quite often are really understanding with these things, as
yeah.
long as you don't try hide it and as long as you actually
Yeah.
try resolve it and give them context. And I think that's the big one is like solve, give context and give
Yeah.
accountability. Like it doesn't have to be the be all or end all, and don't stress about it. Like,
Yeah.
but we all work in paid media, and annoyingly enough, it feels like you have to be on 100% of the time. And if you're not,
Yeah.
there's challenges because you're not doing your job correctly. But we have
Yeah.
off days, we make mistakes.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
don't sweat it, but be accountable.
Absolutely. I think if anything than actually like learning how to do all the different things you need to do in paid sales. It's actually important for you to be able to know how to set up a campaign that doesn't need your eyes on all the time so
Mm.
that you can take a break. We should not be checking paid search spend on a Saturday, on a Sunday. Like, that's what AI is for. That is what
Yeah, yeah.
automation is for. Google, all with all the updates that are coming out, total budget management that you can now do with both search and PMAX and display. Like, I let the automation do what it's supposed to do, but
Mm.
obviously, when then you're on the clock to make sure it's done the right thing when you're away. So yeah, thank you so much for that. Nick, that's been such a great story for us to learn from, and I hope everybody paid attention to that. So let's go to maybe some of the mistakes that you've seen, like the industry, or maybe even just like the teams, your teams, like like still need to get on board with. Just before we started
Mm.
recording, you said that you are the go-to. People have the something's a bit confusing. They come to Nick to the rescue, which is like a really cool position to be. So, what are maybe like the most common mistakes that are still you'd say happening that maybe surprises you that you're like, guys, this is why are we still making these kind of mistakes, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to throw shade at my team if that's
No,
okay. But
of course
what I
not.
will do is I'll throw shade at other agencies and name them. I'm joking. I won't be naming anybody. But one of the biggest things that when I chat to new prospects or clients,
Yeah,
it's funnily budget conversations come up so much around people overspending or underspending. And I don't understand how people continue to make, and it proper gets under my skin sometimes. How are you not monitoring this? Like having simple budget paces or, having alerts that send in when you've like spent so much budget or a change has been made is a really simple thing. And I think the only other thing is like, and I'm not sure if it's a mistake or if it's just like proactiveness. I won't say it's a
mm,
mistake, but it's a mistake not to be proactive. I think it's one of
yes,
the largest things that clients, especially now on the agency side, and have been
yeah,
for, well, God's 8 years. It's one of the biggest things people want to leave for is the mistake is you just weren't proactive and you've just coasted. And it really
yeah,
gets under my skin because I'm like, you should care about your clients. You care about the account. It's not just making revenue. Like it's a business at the end of the day. If you work with SMBs, like it's probably the owner's money that they're putting in. Like
yeah,
do your job.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
don't want to grill people, but it's one of the biggest reasons agencies seem to lose clients is they're not
Okay.
proactive and they make budget mistakes. That's my general thought pattern at the moment.
Yeah, I guess, and this is why us having these discussions are very important. That is like, I say, paid search 101. Like, most of the times, and especially when I started, when it was very much like, yeah, it was all about whoever had the most money got the position one. And if you could outbid the competitor, that's it. Our job was budget management and the clicks. Was it getting revenue? Oh, we hope so. We weren't really measured on return on investment. Our job was budgeting. And yeah, and that really just highlights where I really hope people are not just giving that to AI, because actually knowing how to do that properly on a basic level, then we'll make sure that the AI does it well and AI has delivered you the right thing, especially with the fact that Google can also like spend up to 100 times you're like twice as, or not 100 times, like twice as much of your budget in a month. Or you've got to be really careful about. Well, no, it won't spend more than you put it in the campaign, in account month's campaign, but it can spend twice as much in a day. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So monthly budgets, quite often it can overspend to reach a monthly budget if you do put it in. So you'll find that you'll get a disparity in days now and again where you'll say budgeted £1,000 and it may spend like 1,500 just for an
Right.
example. But you should always come in on mark at the end of the month, depending on what your monthly budget is or what your daily budget is. But yeah,
Yeah.
it averages out over the course of a month. It's sneaky like that, but it's a big challenge for clients, and it, especially in the world of measurement, where clients are like, oh, we've just spent a grand and a half, and we said we'll spend a grand. Where's our return? And you've got a latency to look at for conversions. Like, it's a pain in the ass. But do you know what is why everybody else has jobs, is to explain that and understand the complexity of how to work with platforms like Google.
Yeah. And what's your favorite like tool or solution for budget management? Because there's so many. I feel like Google has come out. I'm always writing about one or the other of them through search engine land. But what's like your favorite way to do budget management?
So we actually, there's many few others that built out a budget tool. So it's actually in Google Sheets, but it works on. So we house our client data in BigQuery. It's all safely
Hmm.
secure and GDPR compliant, of course. But we use SQL and we actually do daily
Mm,
pulls from BigQuery into Sheets, and we've got calculations that work out the latency of conversion to understand
yeah.
the amount of conversions it will have, especially if there's long windows. But then looking at budget as well, like what's your 3-day rolling average, what's your monthly, and where's your expected finish going to be, and then how does that work to the KPIs of the client, and then we look at, as I said, like conversion latency and other bits like that. So we house it all within Google Sheets, and the reason we do
Nice.
that is it's like a building block in it. It's like Lego is Google Sheets for
Yeah.
data nerds like me, and it means I
Yeah.
can go out and change things and make changes for teams where they need more bespokeness.
Yeah.
There's a lot of third-party tools that do it as well, but I don't know. I just prefer building.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's always good to create something bespoke, I feel, because yeah, you just never know about the out of the box solution that Google gives. Where, let's be honest, and Google will not be shy about saying this. They are aiming to hit their budgets. They're aiming to hit their revenue targets. They're aiming to, hit their targets. Google's targets is not the same as your client's targets. So yeah, make sure that you're using what needs to be used for your clients. I'd also like to touch on maybe like, bad ways that you feel like mistakeful ways that people are using AI and AI solutions. Like, do you have any like unique perspectives on that area?
I'm not sure if it's unique, but I think I'm not yet again calling people out, but you see a lot of people on LinkedIn be like, they found a, one-stop solution or a one-stop prompt that will write your ad copy or will do keyword research. And I don't know, I feel it feels lazy and almost predatory to people that don't really understand how it does work. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think the biggest mistakes I generally see is people relying too much of it to do data analysis without proper inputs. Like
Yeah.
JSON files are by far the best way of inputting, and most people just drop in, a sheet. They'll ask it to do tasks that are way beyond, what it can actually do without more information or more insight. And probably the biggest one is people don't seem to understand how to prompt particularly well. So a lot of the
Mm,
time they're quite, I won't say lazily written, but ill-educated built prompts that aren't actually giving the system and the LLM enough information to
Yeah.
produce the output that you want. If people do fall into that trap, ChatGPT has a really good prompt engineer tool that you can use, which I'll find and send to you, Anu, so you can pop it anywhere. But there's also
Amazing.
Google, so fantastic. Google has a really good guide as well on how to
Okay.
use good prompts, which I've used throughout, and I essentially look at it whenever I'm stuck. But yeah, those were the big
Nice.
ones. Is people trying to get AI to do too much with too little
Mm.
information from a prompt perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody just, and that's the thing with people who don't know, their jobs are like prompt engineer, and I'm like, what's a prompt? That's not a job, guys. Like everybody should just be learning how to, prompt the AI a little bit better. Like I use it a lot more with ChatGPT to write articles, for search engine land, but like I give it all the details. I'm literally like, use this source and this source alone, give me an article in this kind of format, in this kind of smooth format that our audience would like to read in a certain way. And, at first I had to go, no, not like that. Do this sentence this way, do that sentence. And then now that I've been using it for like over a year now I can you do less prompting because I'll do the one sentence, but okay, based on the history of how many times you've corrected me, I know what you want. So you need to really get there. It's a growing. So if someone gives you like, oh yeah, I have this perfect prompt for you to use, the response that you're going to get is not as good as what actually should be and what that person has gotten because that person has been training their own AI for months and months. So we've always got to be careful when we're just buying into all these people on LinkedIn going, we've got the perfect prompt for you. You need to test yours yourself, to be honest. Yeah.
100%. And I think there's been a few studies done recently of people giving the same prompt to an AI or the same question, and it actually has answered it in 200 different ways. I'll find the link to the study, but it just shows that, it's there to please and not please from a human perspective. It's there to give the output that it thinks is going to be the most representative of what you're wanting, based on what you put in. So it can have a lot of bias in it as well. I've got a
Yes.
load of examples, and I could talk about this forever, Anu. So we're probably best moving on, or else I could jump massively into it.
You know what, Nick? I apologize to our audience if I'd already said it. That is just really why it's important that it's an expert. You know the basics of paid search, your all these email marketing. You know what the output should look like because AI will give you its best guess. It'll give you its best guess based on what it's collated on the internet. And if what it's collated from the internet is wrong and you don't recognize that, you're just producing wrong thing and spitting that out on a blog or for your clients or putting it as a keyword research. And that's not research. Research is actually knowing what your clients does, knowing what are the terms that their customers actually use, knowing the kind of ad copy and text that they want to see, knowing cultural differences kind of thing, depending on what culture. Yeah, you see, you said you could go on. I will stop now. Yeah, let's take it back into even like into the spirit of this, into the podcast of like talking about mistakes. Why is it important, and why as a leader, you've been a great leader to, several teams. Why is it also even important that your team hear you talking about your mistakes?
I generally do think that, especially in the digital world, like everyone shouts and touts about how good things are instead of actually,
Mm,
the honesty. Like we all sit, like, I sit in my office sometimes. And I'm like, God's sake, I'm sick of this industry sometimes. Then I'm like, I absolutely love it. I think it's good to show the vulnerable side. I think it's good to show mistakes can be made and that we aren't just robots. And I think, given the digital world isn't as tangible, so like if you fix a car or fix a bike or anything that's a bit more real world, like you get reward from it quite quickly. Whereas,
mm,
we run a campaign or we run something and get outlandish numbers that, beat everything. It's then,
yeah,
well, what's next? You never really have that time to breathe. And I think showing the
yeah,
failures and mistakes that we can make makes it a bit more, I suppose, like humanized, where it's not just
yes,
everyone in digital marketing is like absolutely shit hot everything all the time. We are people and we have off days. We have
yes,
days where we just don't want to get out of bed and we're just going to get by and do what we need to do instead of
yeah,
going above and beyond. So yeah, I
yeah,
think as a leader it's incredibly important to let other people know that being vulnerable within our industry is an important factor and also helps everybody talk about it a bit more freely. I could go into the minutiae of how it impacts mental health, but I'll
Yeah.
pause that one because it's a large topic itself.
It really is. And yeah, there's been a lot more, especially in digital industry. I hope a lot more people are focused on their mental health, because the pressure of what you need to do, on how you need to perform, performance reviews, you need the person who's getting the pay rise, not getting the pay rise, that kind of thing. It can be really like heart-wrenching, and it has driven people away from the industry altogether, just thinking no one can make mistakes. I've definitely like had people leave because they just felt the pressure of the agency. It's actually is there's so much to learn, and we're in that cusp of like with AI. There's going to be so much, so it could be very interesting, and we've just got to give each other grace, give ourselves grace, especially, and just hang in there and take the weekends off and give yourself permission to be like, yeah, take a total break off, clock off at 5 o'clock, and don't think about work till the next day. That is absolutely fine. That doesn't make you a failure. So yeah, I hope people like learn that big from this. Give yourself grace and make sure you focus on your mental health. And yeah, we're gonna leave things there, but our last question, our fun non-PPC, like, yeah, we're gonna take a break from all the PPC talk now. If your PPC career were a movie, what would the title be?
Yeah, I was trying to work this one out, and I was like, I'm gonna have to go, and I'm gonna have to use another movie's name, but I'd call it Labyrinth. It's a
Okay.
fantastic film from 1980s. David Bowie's the star in it. He wears
Yeah.
incredibly tight spandex, which is a bit unnerving sometimes.
My God.
But
Yeah.
the whole idea of PPC and digital has changed so much since the start of my career, and I feel that I am navigating a labyrinth with understanding the next move, where I think measurement and incrementality and contribution are the next big things within media to understand the impact of what we do. But I've never thought about, say, 10 years ago. I was trying to
Yeah.
understand the change from CPC to EPC,
Yeah.
ECPC, like enhanced cost per click, and like I think that's the easiest way to describe it. My PPC career has been a labyrinth, and that's the movie title I go for, because everything is changing all the time, and you've just got to navigate through it to a point that it feels comfortable, and you're like, cool,
Yes.
may not know where I'm going, but we'll get to the end eventually.
Yeah, yeah. And I just think that it's a bit of like, you're very right in terms of like that whole like how it's a labyrinth, because it's like when you just feel that you figured one thing out, another maze of like, okay, wait, I don't get this. Something new has come out, and you still need to keep figuring it out and figuring out new things. So everybody hang in there. If you feel that your career is like a labyrinth, you're in good company. And know that even like the experts, the top people in our field are feeling the same way. But yeah, that has been such a great conversation, Nick. Thank you so much for joining us today to share your story and share about, how we should really focus on our mental health. And yeah, thank you for continuing to roll through the labyrinth of your career. And we look forward to where that takes you and where that leads you. Thank you so much, Nick.
Cheers, Annie. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Right. Thank you so much, Nick, for sharing that very honest and transparent experience about your great experience with that. I'd say, yeah, that was a great experience of, going through a mistake, because you had great support from Max Hopkinson. So yeah, another shout out to Max. So, yeah, remember, guys, really look out for yourselves when you have make this kind of mistake. De-escalate yourself from that moment of panic, and just ensure that you're looking out for yourself. It's not the end of the world for a PPC mistake to happen. It's not the end of the career. No one is going to die. We are not solving world hunger here with most of our PPC campaigns, except for those doing it for charity. So yes, those doing it to help stop world hunger, well done to you. The rest of us, take a chill pill. For all the information and the full transcript, yeah, not just the show notes, like everything that was discussed, go to podcast.ppc.live. We'll also share the links to how to put a good, ChatGPT or Gemini prompt together. Yeah, Nick said that he'll share that with us, that will be in the show notes. So make sure you check that out. Always excited for a PPC Live event update. We've got our next one in like just less than 3 weeks now. Yeah, go to ppc.live for your tickets. Only 49 £49 for the likes of Kat Sale, Dave Alexander, and Niels Rujman, who is the script expert. Like if you've used any scripts in your Google Ads account, most likely it's something that Niels put together. So make sure you're there to share, where he's going to share the latest ones he's created and his favorite ones to use for ecom especially. Also, before I leave you, I'm delighted to share that I am taking on coaching clients. Please go to themarketinganu.com for that, where you can book 15 minutes of free discovery call time to discuss what your needs are, whether you want to overcome your imposter syndrome, getting more confidence to speak on stages, to ask for that promotion or for that pay rise. Let me know so that we can have a discussion about that and use a program and do a coaching program that works specifically for you. So I hope you have enjoyed the show, and I look forward to bringing more PPC F-ups and triumphs next week. Thank you so much. Bye.